Hello guys, TavHD here and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be doing something a little bit different and something which is actually relevant for a change. Today we are going to have a go at installing the rumoured Windows 11 on my computer. Now I was going to fully install it on one of my computers, but that wouldn't work out, so we are going to be doing it inside of VirtualBox on my MacBook Pro. So I've already got the ISO, it is on the internet. I'm not going to say where to get it from, but if you do search Windows 11 download, it does come up. So I've got it all set up inside of VirtualBox, and simply let's start it and see what happens. I've not opened this before, so I've got no idea whether it will work, and that looks like the new Windows logo. Now, I don't know how finished this is. I have seen some videos of other people trying this out. I'm not even sure if I've got a legitimate version of this, because I ended up downloading it off a weird site, so this might just be a Windows 10 ISO. I'm not exactly sure, but this is very small, so I'm going to zoom it in from inside Mac OS. Let's try and line this up a bit. So here is the first setup screen. Just like with Windows 10, we've still got the Windows 7/Vista Basic theme going on. We are in the United Kingdom, but we can't change that. We are in the United Kingdom. We might actually be allowed to change this, but it's probably easier if I just leave it as it is. Keyboard or input method, I'm not even going to bother changing that just for the sake of easiness. So let's click on next, and now we've got the old Windows logo. I think we should just be able to go straight to install. I have got a virtual hard drive ready for this to install on. I don't have a product key, however I do think a Windows 10 one will register this. Now let's go with Pro, because it doesn't really matter, I've not got a product key, and it is kind of surprising that they haven't updated the install screen. They didn't do it for Windows 10, so whether they will do it for this at some point, I'm not exactly sure. It would make sense if they did, since they have done an overhaul to the entire design. And this is the first bit of the new design which we can see. This is a new scroll bar. We are going to have to agree to that, and let's click next. We can go on to custom, and here is drive 0 unallocated space. That is what we will go with, and there we go. It's just going to install. Hopefully this won't take too long. So that's gone pretty quick. It's now restarting to continue. That's only taken about 1 or 2 minutes, which is pretty good. It looks like we are now getting a reboot. Let's see what happens. There we go. That is the new Windows logo, and maybe this thing is going to boot and then we can set it up in Windows. Apologies for it all being wonky, that's just the way it is. There's no graphics drivers, so it is 4x3, and I think that's the way it will have to stay. And it looks like this is actually working. It's now getting ready. It's now saying just a moment, so I think in a moment we are going to get to the setup screen. It's now gone black, and here we go. That is a new design, and here we go, it is now loading. Okay, is this the right country or region? We are going to go to United Kingdom, and as we can see here, we now have rounded corners and everything looks a bit more modern. Of course, before the design was all over the place. There was still bits of design from Windows Vista and 7, then some from Windows 8 and 8.1, so this is looking a lot more modern. We're just going to leave that as it is. As a second keyboard, no thanks, we don't need to do that. Now I will say now this will probably be quite slow and laggy because it is in a virtual machine. It's currently got 2 cores and I believe 4 GB of RAM, so it won't be the snappiest of things. It would have been better if I could install it natively, but that just wasn't happening for whatever reason. It's now going to check for updates. If it finds any, I'm not too sure it's going to install them, because no one's really meant to have this version of Windows yet. And I'm not going to sign into my Microsoft account. That means we won't see all of the features, but I don't want to risk my Microsoft account. We're going to set this up for personal use. Add a Microsoft account. We are not going to do that. Sign in options. Let's just do an offline account. As always, it will probably get upset about that, but I don't really care. Yes, limited experience, that will do for now. Who is going to use this? That's who is going to use it. Password. There we go. Right, we've got to do security questions. I think for now we will turn that off. On my device, I don't think we're going to need that. It can do what it wants, required only. That should fine. Don't really care about any of this. I just want to get in and see what this is all about. I don't want targeted adverts. And now let's see what's new from Windows. Just a moment, I'm guessing we're going to come into the desktop. Hi, I remember when Windows 8 used to say this, getting things ready for you. While this is doing this, we can see a nice new graphic in the background, probably quite laggy because of the virtual machine, but that still looks quite nice. Now please keep your PC on and plugged in. Mine is not plugged in, it's got nearly full battery life, so that shouldn't be a problem. And here we go, it just made a noise, so it seemed like sound is working. Here we are on the new desktop. Now I think the first thing to comment on is the fact that the taskbar is now centralised at the bottom instead of being at the left. I'm pretty sure you can change it so it goes back to the left, but of course this isn't activated, so I can't really do any personalisation, and I'm guessing this is the new start menu. Things are still loading in here. Of course it's always been at the left at the bottom until Windows 8 when it was full screen, but it looks like now it is no longer in the corner. Maybe when you put the taskbar back to the left it will move over with it. I don't know. Let's click that. And there we go, we've got a nice animation of it popping up. Not particularly smooth, but it looks pretty nice. Anyway, search button there as well. What else do we have down here? We've got task view. This is where we can add extra virtual desktops. Next, what is this? Widgets. Here are our widgets. Now are these going to load? I don't think they will because I don't have my Microsoft account signed in. So you'll need a Microsoft account to use Windows Dashboard. Now here it is being called Windows Dashboard. Down here it's called widgets. So a little bit of inconsistency with the naming here it seems. Next, this is pretty standard. We've got File Explorer. It does have a newer icon than what I am used to, but as a whole this looks pretty standard. So here is File Explorer. Everything still looks pretty similar, so all Windows 7 and 80. The icons are newer, but I believe they are available in newer versions of Windows 10. Let's go to PC Properties and see what this says. It's opening in Settings. So here it is. We've got 4 GB of RAM available. All that looks fine. If we go down, it even says Windows 11 Pro here, version dev, so I'm guessing that is developer. We've also got the OS build here, and when it was installed, all that looks to be just fine. So let's close that, and let's also close out of File Explorer. Next up down here, we've got Edge. I'm guessing this is just going to be standard Edge, nothing particularly new here. Here we go. Yeah, all this is just fine. Let's just close out of that. And finally, we've got the Microsoft Store. And that is just the Microsoft Store. Nothing too exciting there. Now down here, we've just got our standard things as usual. Nothing too exciting going on. And one new thing is this desktop background. It actually looks quite nice. A lot better than the dark, dingy one which originally came with Windows 10. They did update it as Windows 10 got updates, but this is still far superior. Let's right click and see what we can do from here. This all looks to just be the same design. Let's go to personalize. Settings is opening again. The logo for settings is a bit nicer. Of course it's not activated, so I can't do anything in here, but we can see some of the other wallpapers in there too. They definitely look a lot nicer than the old ones. They look kind of like something Apple would put in Mac OS, and this design with its central at the bottom is a bit like the Mac OS dock. However, the dock doesn't take up all the bottom even when there's just a couple of apps in it. Now speaking of this bottom bit, as you open apps, everything does start to move over. So if you pinned lots of things to here, it would look like it was at the left. Anyway, I'm not going to sign into Mail, and I don't really think there's too much to do on here, which we can look at. Most of these apps, if we click on Spotify, it will download and then install it for us. That's good that it's not just coming with loads of bloaty crap on it. Now that's not all of our apps. To see them all, we've now got to click on all apps, and then they are all here categorized. I'm not too sure how I feel about that. It's sort of an extra step, because in Windows 10, as soon as you click on the start button, they are all here and you can just scroll through. I'm guessing that's something that you would get used to, but you can add more to the pinned here if you really wanted to. Let's open Paint. Paint has got a new icon, but it's just the same old Paint. Now this is a complaint that a lot of people had with Windows 10. There was lots of different designs going on. Of course, this older design, then if we look at the design in settings, that's more modern. It's just not very consistent, and so far this isn't looking too consistent either, but of course we don't know what else they are going to do to change it. This dialog box is a bit different. The buttons have rounded corners. That is slightly different, so that is nice. Now I don't know when the full Windows 11 is going to come out. I doubt it will come out next week when the event is. It could be a year later, so they've still got a lot of time to change things. But for now, I think this general design with the more rounded corners, it looks pretty nice. But of course, not everything follows that same design cue. Like File Explorer here, that is still square. So maybe they'll change that, maybe they won't. Who knows? So I'm not really sure what else to look at. If I open Spotify here, because it did actually install, we can see that this is of course a third-party app, and it is not making the most of the new design. That's to be expected. I don't think Spotify's had any time to change their design. So as you can see, square corners and just the normal buttons up there. They actually stick out a little bit further than the window border. That's probably not intentional, but there will be a lot of different design elements going on if everything isn't unified. It doesn't really bother me, but I know that some people will get a bit annoyed by that. I am liking this so far. I'm not really sure that there is too much I can do on here, considering this is a virtual machine. It runs like crap, and also this isn't an operating system that anyone should even be running yet, so it does feel a little bit weird using this. But even this window, which is a Microsoft made window for settings, this also still has the square corners and the old scroll bar, so I'm guessing not everything has been updated yet, and that's absolutely fine. All this setting stuff looks pretty much the same as it has for a while. If we go into sounds, we should be able to see some of the new sounds which have been added. Doesn't sound particularly good on these speakers, but that is a new sound which has been added. In my opinion, the old sounds were quite harsh, so these ones should sound quite a bit nicer. So I think that is pretty much all there is to look at. Let's try and do some web browsing on here to see if anything will work. Yeah, let's just browse around in here. This all seems to work just fine. Considering this is a virtual machine, this is still pretty responsive. So yeah, this is me on Microsoft News using Windows 11. Now who knows what the final version of this will look like? No one really knows for sure, but this is a pretty good look at what it may look like, and I must say I do quite like it. I've got nothing against Windows 10 really, but this is just something a little bit different. It will take a while to get used to, but that's the same with anything. So here in the taskbar, this is where we can change the alignment to put it back on the left. If I used this as my main operating system and it was activated, I would probably move it back to the left, just because that's what I'm used to. If I'd never used Windows before, I would be very happy just to keep it in the middle. That's all just personal preference, of course, but I think that is it for this video. I've managed to install it and it seems to be running just fine. I must say I do quite like it. So thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it was interesting in some way, and if you like this, please do subscribe and leave a like. In the future I probably will do some more videos on Windows 11 as updates come out. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.